You might have noticed that the same 1,000 naira that filled your shopping bag a few years ago can barely buy a few tubers of yam today. We often blame the sellers. The sellers blame the transport, and the transport blames the fuel. But there is a silent thief stealing food from our farms before it even reaches the market. That thief is climate change. It's not just a big word for scientists. It's the reason the rains don't come when we expect them, and why they come as a flood when we don't need them. Now, think of the earth like a human being. When we burn too much bush, throw plastic into gutters, and cut down all our trees, we are making the earth feverish. And when the earth is feverish, certainly we must catch cold. Welcome to Eco Frontline, where we mitigate the effects of climate change and secure livelihoods and sustain life. I am Nolene Abel Ame. On the front line this week is climate change and food insecurity. Let's hear from some farmers and traders. Thereafter, we shall x-ray the issue in focus in our backgrounder and, of course, take the views of experts in the field of climate change and possibly the solution.
Rain used to drop within February, March. Mainly rain drop, all the dry season farming, they are automatically destroyed by the rain.
We farmers, we farm 2 crops in one farm. After harvesting one, we plant another one. And we are not able to do that last year because we are not certain if the rain will be enough for the second crop to yield. So instead of engaging in what you may not get anything at the end of the day, most of the farmers were not able to farm twice.
The rain was very okay. We have no problem of rain. The rain was very, very okay. So about our yam, the problem in the yam is when you apply fertilizer sometimes, and in much rain, it will affect it.
Climate change had a lot of impact on agricultural produce, both crops and livestock. If you look at the effect of climate change on crops, it starts from the preparation of planting. When you are expecting rain and the rain does not come at the right time, each crop has a time of planting and a duration it should stay before harvesting. Then if you look at the livestock, the same thing happened to livestock. And disease prevalence, you see disease coming because of the change in climate. You see outbreaks of viral diseases because of the heat that the environment gets heat up, and the result of global warming and disease outbreaks everywhere. And that affects the output of farmers, both for crops and for livestock.
Nigeria feeds over 220 million people. From the fertile plains of the Middle Belt to the riverine communities of the Niger Delta, food is not just survival, it is culture, livelihood, and identity. But today, that foundation is under threat. Climate change is no longer a distant warning. It is here, and it is reshaping how Nigeria grows, shares, and secures its food. Across Nigeria, climate patterns are changing fast. Rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, unpredictable rainfall, and devastating floods are becoming the new normal. The Nigeria Meteorological Agency reports increasing climate extremes with growing consequences for agriculture, a sector that employs over 70% of the rural population. In the north, drought and desertification are shrinking farmlands year after year. Crops fail before maturity. Grazing lands disappear. Farmers plant in hope, but harvest in loss. As water sources dry up, competition over land intensifies, worsening conflicts between farmers and herders, further disrupting food production. In other regions, the problem is the opposite: too much water. Flooding now washes away thousands of hectares of farmland annually. Rice, maize, cassava, and vegetables are destroyed in days. What was meant to feed families and markets is lost to rising waters, pushing food prices higher nationwide. When climate shocks hit farms, the impact reaches every kitchen. Reduced harvests mean reduced supply. Food prices soar. For millions of Nigerians, especially women and children, access to nutritious meals becomes a daily struggle. According to national and international estimates, millions now face moderate to severe food insecurity, not from lack of effort, but from forces beyond their control. Climate change is also disrupting fisheries. Rising temperatures and water pollution affect fish breeding cycles, while flooding and erosion damage coastal communities. For households that depend on fishing as their main source of protein and income, climate change means hunger from both land and water. But all is not lost. Across the country, solutions are emerging: climate-smart agriculture, improved irrigation, drought-resistant crops, better storage systems, and ecosystem restoration are helping communities adapt. When supported by policy, technology, and local knowledge, Nigerian farmers can still feed the nation sustainably. Climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a food issue, an economic issue, and a human issue. The future of Nigeria's food security depends on how urgently we act today. Protect the climate, protect our farmers, and protect the food on every Nigerian table.
Climate change, as we know, is a global topical issue of concern in particular. As we know that the aggregate impact of climate change is having more debilitating effect on developing countries, particularly the frontline communities in the rural areas. People are exposed to the devastating impact of climate change over the years. Climate change has very strong connection with food security. And if we look at food security from the basic perspective of food availability, food accessibility, and even affordability, we can draw very strong connection between climate change and food security in that regard. Food availability has to do with production of food. How much of food products do we have available within different systems within an economy? And as we know, climate change has been threatening. Climate change has actually been threatening the duration of the cropping season. So, which means that the traditional duration or the traditional window that we have for food production is actually closing in.
we're having a shrinking window for cropping, for crop production. So which is affecting the availability of food that is coming out from our different production hubs in the country. Secondly, climate change is limiting the availability of resources that are supporting production of food. When we are talking food security, production system is the primary, it is the primary center of activity. Production must first happen before harvesting will happen, before processing will happen, and before food will get to the table. So if production is impaired in any way, then the entire chain or the entire system will be affected. It's also important to mention the connection between agriculture and agribusiness financing and climate change. Without climate change in the mix, agriculture has been perceived to be a high-risk enterprise. So finance to agriculture and agribusinesses have been quite very minimal because it's perceived as a high-risk enterprise. Lenders don't want to provide credit or liquidity to the sector. And now, that was even when climate change wasn't this impactful. But now, with the aggravated increase in the impact of climate change, it has worsened the case. Another very important reason why climate change is of enormous concern to food security is the degradation within the ecosystem itself. Agriculture is a science. Agriculture thrives where there is a balanced relationship between different microorganisms within an ecosystem. Even within the soil system itself, the number, the volume, and the type of microorganism within the soil system, they are very important to food production. So with climate change, that has been greatly affected. We have been experiencing serious distortion to the to the ecosystem. There is ecosystem degradation. There is ecosystem collapse in many areas. So many locations where we used to have cropland, those cropland are becoming degraded farmland. Of course, it can be attributed to also different practice. Maybe overcropping over the years, but overcropping is also as a result of the shrinking nature of available farmland that are suitable for farming. So when you look at all this, food production will be affected, and it is being affected definitely. Climate change multiplies the risk of hunger because yield, on the average, science has proven that climate change can affect and lower yield of agricultural production up onto 70-75%. So where in some cases you can ordinarily achieve a yield of say 3 tons per hectare, today you can hardly achieve a yield of 0.5 tons per hectare. This is a very serious implication for availability of food. Now, let me quickly also connect that to conflict. Climate change is actually displacing people. It's making people to be forcefully removed from their natural environment where they are possibly established and they were cropping and farming, and they are looking more, into other areas where conditions for food production could be said to be better available. And the impact of that is that there is now too much competition for natural resources, either for cropland, either for water, and other resources. So the competition among different stakeholders within the ecosystem on the limiting natural resources that are required for food production is very intense. So we have very intense competition, and from this competition now we're having conflict. So many things are coming into play as a result of the overarching implication of climate change across different communities.
Oh yes, we appreciate your insights on climate change and food insecurity, Dr. Olumide Ojo. Viewer, we have heard it all from the expert. Moving forward, How do we change this narrative and ensure that we have surplus of food products even for export to boost our economy? We all know that so many projects and interventions have been made by the government to address food shortages in the country. Now, what else can be done to combat drought, especially in desert-prone areas of the country? At this point, I am being joined by Farino Temidayo, a climate and sustainable development expert. Thank you so much, Mr. Farino, for joining us on Eco Frontline.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now, generally, how widespread is the effect of climate change on arable lands in Nigeria, especially drought?
Okay, so I'll give some data on that. The first point is, at some point, Nigeria has the highest desertification in the world. I think it has changed now. The drought side of climate change crisis affects over 70 million Nigerians directly and indirectly, and even 55 million directly. I mean, people whose daily livelihood was affected. We lose about 350,000 to 400,000 hectares annually. And we are one of the first 10 people with the highest threat level all over the world, due to so many indexes all over the world. But I believe that a couple of actions by government and stakeholders have been taken, and then we are moving gradually away from the status that we used to have.
We know that the effects of drought and desertification is more felt in the northern parts of Nigeria. What are the efforts and interventions of government in this area that you are aware of?
Okay, so I would say that the government has done a couple of interventions, partnerships, some of them African-led, not just Nigerian-led project. We know about the Great Green Wall project. We also know about the ACRESAL, which is the Agroclimate Resilience Project for arid land. We know the new map. We know the Lake Chad Basin Commission, and so many other interventions that government has taken and partnership they've entered into in order to mitigate this crisis. So those are some of the things that government have done.
Now, in your opinion, are these efforts sufficient to mitigate drought and famine-related adverse effects of climate change, considering the rapid rate of climate crisis?
Well, these questions, there is no yes or no answer to it. But I would say that at the level of government, for some of these projects and programs that I've highlighted earlier, government at its level has done well. Within the partnership they are able to build and the resources that is available to them. But if you say it's sufficient for the prevailing challenges, I would say we have more to do. I wouldn't say it's not sufficient. I won't say it's sufficient. I would say we have more to do. Now, there is a gap somewhere. And just like every other area of concern, of global concern, whether it's in terms of sustainable development, community development, even peace building, and this time around in terms of environment, we have this project that are done at the level of government that are maybe what we call structural projects, high-level kind of project. The gap is this. The people who are directly affected by this crisis, we must concentrate some of our efforts in bringing them into the project. A lot of the time, we have them as beneficiaries of this project. And that is the wrong step, because if farmers are faced with drought, they need to know what they can do within their localities in order to mitigate it. Now, I'm not talking about awareness campaign. Awareness campaign is a flash in the pan. It's something that you do once and it goes away. I'm talking about consistent strategy of educating these people, empowering them with the capacity to begin to become the operator themselves, not beneficiaries. So that is where I think there is a little gap. And I believe that, going forward, there will be efforts towards, bridging that gap.
Now, we have had so many new ideas that practitioners suggest to farmers and youth. Ideas like the urban farming techniques, vertical, hydroponics, aquaponics, and the likes. Are these the local solutions, you are suggesting?
No, these are not some of the suggestions that I'm bringing to the fore. Firstly, these ideas are wonderful ideas. When people are faced with challenge, it is human for us to begin to recreate. To be creative, to begin to innovate on how to solve it. So some of these ideas are wonderful. But if you look at them critically, when someone says urban agriculture system, some of them are purely urban. What do you do to the people who are based in the rural areas? That is where, is an escapist. Some of them are escapist solution. It's like people are facing problems on their farmlands. You are telling them how to do urban. No. How do they reverse the drought case that they have? If you go to China, for instance, the Great Green Wall that we are doing now, which is an African-led, it's trans-country. Now, China has been doing it since the late 70s. All right, since the late 70s. If you go to some parts of the Middle East, you will see them recovering even desert land. They reverse desertification in desert, which means there are little here, little there that people can begin to do. And that is why what I emphasized earlier is that, the capacity of these people, they have to, get to the point where they realize that this is the new reality. And when people get to that point, they begin to, they ask themselves, how can we solve this problem? What can we do? So there are so many strategies, so many approaches they can adopt that will help them, to mitigate this ravaging drought crisis.
Can you share with us some of the solutions that communities and smallholder farmers can adopt?
Okay, so I will just eat them straight up. There are a few of them, that I believe that almost immediately we can begin to, to guide the people on how to do it themselves. Why government is doing, all those big projects, then everybody meets at the middle. Number one, if you look at, I cited the instance of China, something as simple as water trapping. Right here. Now, let me emphasize this again. The challenge of drought, especially in the northern parts, the dry season is just 5 months. 5 months. And after the 5 months, the rain comes and then the farmland are rejuvenated. Which means any solution we have to provide to the people or guide them or teach them, they just need to survive in 5 months. So if we have abundance of rain that is even causing flooding all over the country, and then we have small trapping system or project or program that people can, within their farmland, trap rainwater, for the time when it will be dry season. We'll adopt that. So, and, things like organic farming, things like mulching. There's something we call the half moon. So there are so many, but these are not programs that you will come, you have the people as beneficiaries. These are, it has to be, they need to know that this drought thing is an existential challenge. We can see it in insecurity. People have to leave their ancestral land to look for another land to go. So it's existential already. So what we need to do is teach them these basic little things they can do. Somebody can reverse, they can reverse the drought challenge in their farmland within a year. If people can recover a desert, I think the arid land, can be actually rejuvenated for farming.
Now, Mr. Farono, to conclude this conversation, any comments on regenerative agriculture as a solution to the invading drought crisis in the country?
Oh, of course, that is the way to go. Regenerative agriculture, which is, some people can call it climate smart agriculture. Some of them can say it's pro-climate agriculture. Basically, it's talking about how you improve, while you're farming, how you improve the health of the soil, how you take care of ecosystem and all the even biodiversity. So as you're farming, in the olden days when we were taught something like, is it fallowing or something, where you farm on the farmland for a while, you leave it for a while, you go and come back for it to, for it to regain its strength. So some of these approaches are regenerative in nature. When you do organic farming, where almost everything you use on the farmland are gotten from the farmland. You are using compost to fertilize instead of the, the nitrous fertilizer. You are managing water and recycling water. Okay, a lot of the time people say irrigation, they just use all of this water, pump it into the soil and it goes away. But you know that the land have a way you can recover the water. So these are the regenerative. Anything you do that will increase the fertility, just like I said, mulching. Mulching means when you plant and you harvest, the remaining, waste that we have, the organic waste, make sure you spray it all over the land and allow it to, to maybe rot. And before you know it, it helps the soil to. So those are the approaches that, comprise the regenerative agriculture comprises of.
On this note, I would like to appreciate you very much, Mr. Faruna Temidayo, for your expert view on the solution to drought and how best to recover our agricultural lands affected by desertification.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
All right, next on EcoFrontline is our Global Eco Spotlight. Have a look. That was our Global Eco Spotlight there. And to conclude this program, Eco Frontline on Africa's Window to the World, remember, climate change is no longer knocking on our door. It is already sitting at our table, deciding what we eat, how much we eat, and sometimes whether we eat at all. From drought-stricken farms in the north to flooded fields in the south, the link between climate change and food insecurity in Nigeria is clear, urgent, and undeniable. But this story is not only about loss, it is also about responsibility and hope. With the right choices, climate-smart farming, protection of our ecosystems, support for local farmers, and collective action from government to grassroots, we can secure our food and protect our future. Thank you for watching Eco Frontline. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Join us again as we continue to put the environment and the survival of our people at the forefront next week. Bye for now.